Hello, I'm Quinn, and this is Open Awareness Yoga. And today we're just doing a super chill, like yoga, stretch, relax sort of class. And there's a load of props you need. Some are optional. You could probably do the class without any props, honestly. But if you're going all the way with me here today, then you'll want to have one or two yoga blocks or hardback books make good alternatives. We'll be building the ground up. One firm pillow or yoga bolster. This is like my favorite yoga prop. So if you don't have one, it's a good investment. And then a blanket or a towel, a strap or an alternative. And if you're like an extra credit student, a chair. So ideally without any arms on it. You could probably use a piece of furniture too if you're close to everything. And I'll give you a way to use the wall when we use the chair. It'll be optional. You know, it's there if you have it, and if not, you're not gonna miss out on too much. So we'll get started today lying down on our back. So make sure your strap is within reaching distance. And then come to lay down. Your knees can stay bent, or you might lengthen your legs out long. If you're like me, you'll have to finagle all your props out of the way. And roll your shoulders underneath you. And close your eyes. Soften, make heavy your body. And let's take 3 cleansing breaths, which just means in through the nose and out through the mouth. So take a deep, deep breath in through your nose. Exhale with a sigh. Another deep breath in through the nose. This time, exhale by going Last one, inhale. And now quiet mouth, exhale. Then return to normal breathing. In and out through the nose if possible. Let's walk your legs and your feet together, and then bring your arms together along the floor overhead and stretch in one long line. Keep breathing. Stretch further out through the left foot and up through the left arm. Switch sides, stretching further now with the right foot, reaching with the right arm. Move back and forth a few times, doing what feels good here. And finishing up, bring your arms back down along the side of your body and bend your knees one at a time to bring the feet flat on the floor. Adjust your hips so that your lower body is comfortable. We'll take a few pelvic tilts, moving with your breath as you exhale. Flatten your low back down to the ground. And as you inhale, let the low back lift off of the earth, just rocking. With your eyes closed and your nose pointing to the sky, can you notice how the curve in your neck changes as you rock the hips? And can you free up the muscles in the neck so that you're not getting in the way of any natural undulation or movement? And you might notice that the neck and the low back, the curves are changing in opposite directions. So as you flatten your low back, it gets long. The neck, back of neck gets short. And as you arch the low back, the back of the neck gets long. And then finish up here, coming back to a neutral spine. Find your strap. And then hook it around the ball of your right foot. And we'll move a little bit into the Supta Padangusthasana 1. So just straighten and bend your right leg. If your strap is long enough, slide your elbows down so that they're rooted on the floor. And even as you move through that right leg, roll your shoulders down towards the earth and spread across the collarbones. So we're opening through the chest and the heart. When and if it feels like you'd like to stay in your hamstring stretch, then leave your right leg straight. Options with the left leg, you can leave the knee bent and the foot on the floor. And to deepen your experience, you might straighten that left leg long, grounding it down to the earth. Rock your head to the left. Take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. As you inhale, bring your nose back to center. Exhale, rock your head to the right. Take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. Now hold both of the straps in your right hand. Bring your nose back to center. Turn your toes open to the right, and then open your entire leg to the right. Try to keep this left hip grounded, unless today you'd rather rock to the side, and that's really fine too. Just here to feel good. Experience your body. Give yourself what you need. And if that's something completely different than what I'm suggesting, you do what you want to do. I'm just here to guide you. I don't know you any better than you know you. And your best teacher is within. If you're holding on to that left leg, if you're firming it up, just go ahead and relax the left leg. Take a few more deep breaths. And then hug your navel down towards your spine as you bring the right leg back up to center. And then release the strap. Place both feet on the floor and change sides. This is called Supta Padangusthasana 1. At first, elbows grounded if possible, you just bend and straighten. It's a slight warm-up for the hamstrings, and sometimes the backs of our legs just aren't ready at all for a long hold. So listen to your legs speak to you today in this moment. And only do what feels productive for your body. You're not missing out if you do something different than what I do. When and if you're ready for stillness, you can straighten the left leg, maybe straighten the right leg, maybe not. You can always experiment, and if whatever you try doesn't serve you today, just go back to what you prefer. Let's drop the head to the right. Take a deep breath. Inhale, nose comes to center. Exhale, drop the head to the left. Take a deep breath. Inhale, bring your nose back to center. Hold both of the straps in your left hand. Externally rotate that left leg. Toes turn out to the left. Ground down through your right hip as you open your left leg to the left. And if you're like me and you have a wall or a piece of furniture there, it might be nice just to leave your foot resting on it. We work with the space that we've got. And sometimes it's really worthwhile to clear a big space around you for your practice so that you're unimpeded. Other times, it's best just to get down there and move your body or stretch your body. And if it's an excuse that you have to move the room around, then don't. Just lay right down on the floor. You don't need a mat. You don't need anything special. You don't need to do anything except lay down on the floor, and sometimes that's really enough. Ground down through the right leg and bring the left leg back up to center. Release the strap off to the side and then pull both of your knees into your chest. Apanasana. Rock side to side on your low back. Make small circles around your sacrum. Change direction. And come to stillness at the center. Hold each of your legs in one hand, and then move the knees in circles in opposite directions. So you'll pull the knees apart and then draw them together. Churning the femur bone, that's your thigh bone, in the hip socket, like a mortar and pestle. And change direction. Release through the muscles of your legs. Let your arms do the work here. Notice what you notice. And finish up, pulling the knees together. And we'll take a mini little happy baby. Let's bring the soles of the feet to the sky, and then hold on underneath your thighs this time, or the hamstrings. Hands will be on your hamstrings. Just pull the knees down towards the right and left sides of the body. Take a look up at your feet. Starting with the right ankle, make circles. One direction. And then change direction. And then let that ankle just flop off. And left side, make circles in one direction. Change direction. Now bring your hands to your outer knees, pull your knees together, and hug the legs back into the chest. Glue the inner edges of your feet together, and if that's uncomfortable in your body, you can keep the knees slightly separate. But we'll move both of the ankles in one direction. So as if you just had a unifoot, one foot. And change direction. Now hold the right knee into the chest. Lengthen the left leg long and place it down on the floor. Ekapada Apanasana. Just a one-legged Apanasana pose. Soften your belly muscles. Relax your ankles. Breathe. Now first place your left foot on the floor, and then pull your left knee into the chest. Hold on both hands on the left knee and straighten the right leg long and release it down to the ground. Ekapada Apanasana, second side. Relax your belly, hug your knee in tight. Take a few more deep breaths. And with the right extended leg, bend it, place the foot on the floor, and then pull the knee into the chest. Bring your arms out to a T, elbows at shoulder height. Inhale here, and exhale, drop both of your knees over to the right. Pick up your right shoulder blade, scoot it over to the right. So we're deepening the rotation in the upper back and the thoracic spine. And maybe turn your head over to the left. For a little bit extra weight, you can place your right hand on top of the left thigh and invite the left leg down towards the ground. Take a deep breath in. Let it out through the mouth. Bring your head back to center. Use your belly muscles to bring the knees back to center. Inhale here. And exhale, drop your knees to the left. Pick up your left shoulder blade, scoot it over to the left. Maybe turn the head to look over the right arm. Maybe take your left hand and place it on top of the right thigh. Definitely take a deep breath in through your nose and sigh or hum or just breathe out. Release your leg, hug the belly muscles in, and bring the knees back to center. From here, we'll roll over onto one side. Let your head hang. Use your arms to press yourself up. The head is the last thing to arrive. And we'll come onto hands and knees. So if you need extra padding underneath your knees, you can take the blanket or the towel that you're using and place it underneath you. Spread your fingers wide. Point back through the feet so that the toenails are on the ground. Just feel your body in this tabletop position. Cat-cow. Inhale, drop your belly. Lift your heart and lift your hips. Exhale, tuck your tail under and round through the spine. Chin comes to chest. Continue with your breath. Spinal awakening, moving like a snake. You can rock your weight forward towards your hands or back towards your knees in any way that feels right in your body, that feels good. You can spend a couple of moments or even a couple of breath cycles in any one of the shapes that you're making. Follow your intuition. You might choose to continue to do cat-cow, or you might come back to a neutral spine and make circles with your hips, dropping them off to one side, moving them back towards your heels, and then coming back up the other side. Let this be luxurious. Chances are no one is watching. You're allowed to feel good in your body. When you come to a natural place, change direction. And think about wrapping it up and coming back to a neutral tabletop, hands and knees. We'll take a little twist here called thread the needle. So press down through your right palm. Inhale, lift the left arm up into the sky. And then exhale, twist to the right, weaving your left arm underneath the right. You can crawl the right fingertips forward. Press them down into the floor and away from you to stretch a little deeper through the right side body. Breathe in the space between the shoulder blades. Exhale fully. Let all the stale air out. Breathe along the right side of your body. Exhale all the way. Bring your right hand back underneath your right shoulder. Come back to tabletop, hands and knees. And we'll change sides. So flatten that left palm down into the earth. Press it down. Inhale, lift the right arm up into the sky. Exhale, twist to the left. Weave your right arm underneath the left. Right cheek comes down to the ground. Crawl your left fingertips forward and press them down and forward to stretch deeper along the left side of your body. Take a deep breath in between your shoulder blades. Exhale all the way. Another breath, send it along the left side body. All the air releases as you breathe out. Now slide your left hand back underneath the shoulder. Easy peasy, come back onto hands and knees. Now here, crawl your knees back slightly and then walk your hands forward, bringing your forehead down to the ground. Hips stay high over the knees. This isn't a child's pose. It's called Anahatasana, heart melting pose. You can press the palms down into the ground, lift your forearms, and wrap your outer upper arms, your triceps, down towards the ground. Draw your shoulder blades down your back and then press them down towards the chest to find a little bit more back bend in your upper back. Then notice what's going on at your low back. If it feels uncomfortable at all, tuck your tail slightly without over-rounding the low back. So we start to lengthen through the low back as we get a back bend to the upper back. If it seems like a good idea in your body, you might look forward and bring the chin to the ground. That doesn't seem like a good idea for me right now. Let your heart melt down and back and your armpits open and stretch towards the floor. If there feels like there's compression or numbness and tingling in the shoulders of the arms, and spread your palms wider apart. Just a couple more deep breaths here. Then bring your hands underneath your shoulders. Come back up into tabletop. And we'll take a child's pose with support. So first sit back on your heels and then find your firm pillow. Maybe a few more props nearby in case you'll need them. Blocks or the blanket that you were using. I like to actually stack the blanket on top of the bolster, so I like quite high. So the big toes touch, your knees are spread apart to make room for whatever props that you're using, and you'll pull those props really far in. So ideally they're touching the inner groins. Then from here, crawl the body forward over your props. And this is when you might realize you want more height underneath you. And so play around with what you've got nearby. Really doesn't matter. If you don't like to turn one cheek to the ground, place something with the lift underneath your forehead to make room for your nose. And we'll be here for 3 to 5 minutes, so make yourself comfortable. If you're not comfortable in a child's pose with your knees bent like this, maybe you bring the legs out in front of you and fold forward. And here, your support is underneath your rib cage, so your diaphragm is supported. Allow your body weight to release into this child's pose. Allow everything to soften. Now, if you're in this shape and you're comfortable, stay right there. I want to offer something for anyone whose ankles are uncomfortable in a child's pose. And if that's you, you'll take a blanket or towel and make a small roll in it. Not too big, it will be underneath the top of the feet. Then you'll place this right underneath the top ankle. So it's supporting the arch of the ankle here. Make it as high as you need to. for your body proportions. Then come back down. That can provide a lot of relief. And this is a pose that I turn to when I'm feeling overwhelmed. When big crisis events have happened in my life, I've just gotten right down into this shape. It's a physical turning inward. It's a prostration, a bow to the ground. It's very grounded. Very fundamental. Just notice what this pose is like for you now. Maybe you feel the way I do about it. Maybe you don't. Maybe this isn't a nice shape for you right now. You don't have to stay here. Maybe you just lay on your belly or on your back. If your head is turned to one side, turn it to the other side. Just another minute or so. And take a deeper breath in, sigh it out. And set yourself up. Let's move whatever you had as your support forward on your mat. We'll use it again in a brief visit to downward facing dog. If you did put your ankles on top of your blanket, move it off your mat. And just be careful if you're on a sticky surface. And you might again have to play with the height underneath your head here, but to start, you'll put your arms on either side of your props. Curl your toes under and go into downward facing dog. Then you should be able to rest the top of your head or your forehead on your props. And if you can't reach the props with your head, it just means you need to build up whatever's underneath you a little bit more. So put some blocks there or books or more pillows. If the legs are tight, separate them wider. And you can bend the knees here. The important thing is that our head is supported. If at any time your arms get heavy or tired or your wrists start to hurt, just make your way back into a child's pose. We're transitioning into being upside down for a spell. And just a couple more breaths. And if you're resting, make your way back into a downward facing dog. And we'll all just bend the knees and walk the feet forward towards your hands, not all the way. Just enough to crawl your hands up onto your props, come up halfway. Nothing too much with form here, just, not asking ourselves to reorient to gravity too quickly. Then bend the knees and slowly roll up to standing. So this next shape is one where you can use your chair if you'd like. We're taking a supported forward fold. So again, our head will be on something. So if you are using a chair and a wall, I'll show you what we're doing with that. So you want your butt to be against the wall. It just gives you a little bit of support behind you. And the chair to be right in front of you. And again, you don't have to use the chair. You might have a high enough stack of props without it to place the forehead down, or you might not care to have your forehead down and dangling is fine for you. So there's your options. Build up the floor so your head can land on something, or build up the chair or place something soft across it. And then just fold down forward. Legs can be together or they can be wider apart, up to you. You might not go down as low as you normally do, or as low as you can if you're using a chair, and that's okay. You might feel a deep stretch in the backs of the legs, or you might not feel anything at all. And that's okay too. My intention with this shape is to keep us flipped upside down. It's not often in our daily lives that our bodies are upside down, that our heads are either hanging or supported upside down. Sometimes I think about it as just like knocking all of the old stale stories and thoughts out of my head. Just dumping them out. Flipping your perspective. And don't let yourself hang out in a position that feels awful. Experiment. Find something that works for you. If you're not using the support of a chair or a wall, it might be a bit of work in the legs. That's okay too. If your head is supported, see to it that the skin of the forehead is moving towards the brows. And so from hairline down to nose. This is a more relaxing orientation for the skin of the face and the eyes. The opposite of lifting the eyebrows in shock, right? It's like drawing them down and relaxation and quietude. And take a break if you need it. For the last minute or so in this shape, maybe you want to change how far apart your legs are. So if they're wide, maybe you bring the feet together, or maybe you widen them even more, just to experience something slightly different. Now, because we've been upside down for a while, we're just going to sink the hips down, leaving the head on the chair if you've got it there. Or just come to seated and maybe fold over your lap. Or come to a child's pose. Keep the head down as best you can. You can find any shape to rest in. Now there's some options on the next pose that we'll take as well. So we're taking a yogi squat, malasana. There's a way to do this in a chair that's quite nice, and also a way to do it squatting. So I'll show you first in a chair. If you've got a chair that works with this, you'll just sit back in it, spread your legs as wide as you'd like, and then folding right here from the hips, come forward. Maybe you hold on to a place on your chair. Maybe you need some height underneath your hands and you can grab one of your props underneath them. Or maybe you come all the way down and hold on to the legs of your chair, or get creative with what it is that you've got. So we'll be here for a while. That's one option. Just make sure that the knees feel okay. They should agree with the feet. So, turn the ankles in and out so that the knees don't feel any strain, or walk your feet a little closer. If you're practicing without a chair, then I suggest taking either your blanket or towel and then placing your heels on that. Feet wider apart than the hips, toes turned slightly out, and then open the knees and bring your fingertips forward. This is a lot of flexion in the knees, just like a child's pose. And if this is too much and child's pose feels nice to you, you might try that. Or you might just walk over to your couch and spread your legs wide and fold forward like I showed you on the chair. And come down as deep as you like. But whether you're on the chair or the floor, relax your low back. It's rounding here. This is like a forward fold. Soften your shoulders away from the ears so you're not scrunching up any tension in the upper trapezius muscle. Relax your jaw. And since you're still folding the head forward, can you feel the brain in the head tump forward towards the forehead? And of course, the brain is floating and cerebral spinal fluid, and there's such a delicate and perfect balance of the brain and the skull being such an important organ. Let's see if you can imagine that it is falling forward. And see how it changes your experience. Moving and releasing from your organs instead of your muscles or your bones. And relax through your belly. Let your belly just hang like a Buddha belly. It might be surprising to find out just how much tension you might hold in your belly. Maybe how foreign it is to feel yourself let go here. And as always, if you've had enough, come out of the shape and find something comfortable for you. Relax your feet. Take a few more deep breaths. And if you're sitting in the chair, slowly make your way back to seated. If you're squatting on the floor, some people can just sit right down on their buttocks. Other people need to come back into a forward fold first. So line up your feet, toes facing forward, and straighten the legs. And then if you're in the chair, you might as well just stay seated in the chair. And if you don't have a chair, then sit down on your blanket. We'll just take a twist. So in the chair, make your feet even with the hips, knees in line with the hips. You can sit in an easy cross-legged seat on your blanket. And we'll just twist to the right. Let this be a very gentle, lazy kind of twist, not one where you're pulling and trying to go deeper, but just one where you can breathe, a natural sort of looking behind you in the car twist. And come back to center and twist to the left. Nothing to it. Come back to center. And we'll set the chair aside, make our way onto our bellies. So if you've got any low back stuff, you might grab your blanket or your firm pillow or bolster so that it's accessible to you. And have it right near your arms. And we'll come into a Sphinx pose. I'll show you a couple of ways you might like to use props in Sphinx, depending on what you want today. So here we start standard, elbows underneath shoulders. Legs can be spread a little bit wider than the hips, whatever's comfortable. And this works for some people. Other people don't want as much of a back bend here in the low back, so you crawl the elbows forward. And for some added support, you might slide your blanket or bolster underneath the low ribs. You might even put your forehead in your hands. Other folks don't feel much of anything and they want sensation when they're practicing Sphinx. So you might take your support underneath your elbows so you come into a deeper back bend. Whatever you've chosen, check in with any hunching of the shoulders and release the shoulder blades down the back. Also check in with any clenching in the buttocks. And that can help protect the low back, and maybe that's what your body needs. Maybe you can experiment with softening through the buttocks and the backs of the thighs. And allowing some compression through the low back. We'll be here for a couple of minutes. As always, slowly release the pose when you're ready. Deepen and lengthen your breath. We'll slowly come out of this shape. Just lower the chest down to the ground. Turn your head to one side. Send a few deep breaths into your low back. As you fill the belly, the low back will expand and stretch. Turn your head to the other side and continue to breathe. Now bring your hands underneath your shoulders and press up into tabletop, hands and knees. And we'll sink back into a child's pose very briefly, this time with your knees and legs together. So the low back will round over the knees. Do anything comfortable with the arms. Breathe into the low back. Come back up into tabletop. Here, step the right leg forward between the hands. Come up onto your fingertips. And let's get into that back hip. So you might rock side to side, if that's comfortable. Just a few deep breaths. If you'd like, if you have open quads, you might bend your left knee. Reach back with your left hand and grab your foot. Takes a little bit more balance. Maybe you don't feel like trying so hard right now, and that's okay. Give yourself permission. If you're holding your foot, release. Firmly plant your hands and step back into your tabletop. We'll do the second side. Left foot forward. Come up onto your fingertips. Stretch into that back leg. And if you did it on the other side, bend the right knee, reach back with your right hand. And slowly release. Come back to hands and knees. Let's take one round of cat-cow. Inhale into your cow. Exhale into your cat. And then we'll make our way onto the back. Make sure that you've got some of your props nearby, either your blocks or your firm pillow. We're going to take a supported bridge. So placing whatever prop you're using next to your hips, you'll lay it down on the back with the knees bent, feet on the floor. Lift your hips and slide your prop underneath them. And place them down. Make sure that it's in a comfortable place. Your low back should feel like it's releasing down towards the floor. Hips should feel fully supported here. Then roll your shoulders underneath you, spreading across the collarbones. Lift the sternum towards your chin. Your arms can come down along the side of the body, palms face up. You can stay here with the knees bent, or one leg at a time you might explore straightening your legs. Just being careful, checking in with your body to make sure whatever you choose to do is the right thing for your body in this moment. And with the legs straight, there's a gentle stretch across the hip creases. But with the feet on the floor, there's more press back into the shoulders so there can be more opening through the chest and the shoulders, a bit more of a back bend. Relax your throat and the muscles of your neck. Your head is heavy, heavy, heavy. Release your brain back towards the point on the skull that's in contact with the earth. So whether your legs are straight or your knees are bent, you might experiment with pulling your right knee into the chest. And just see how that feels. Maybe you like it, maybe you don't. And if you don't do it. And if you are pulling the knee into the chest, change sides. Just don't rocket your way there. Go really slowly, step by step, respecting the body, which isn't fragile by any means, but sometimes deserves kid gloves. Sometimes we've even forgot how to treat our body with kid gloves. And even when it's at its most fragile, we don't respect that. So it's always good to practice. And everybody make your way back to having both feet on the floor. And when you get there, lift up your hips, slide your prop out from underneath you. Then roll onto one side, very slowly, head hangs. Sit yourself up. One last prop setup. And we'll take our Shavasana this way. So set up your firm pillow or your bolster long ways on your mat. And whatever you're using as a blanket across the bolster, which will be a pillow for your head. And then if you like extra support today, you might have your blocks or your books nearby to use them. Sit right up against the short edge of the bolster and lay over backwards, adjusting the blanket underneath your head and neck for maximum comfort. You might take out ponytails, take off glasses. Have you used a strap? You might in a moment use it over your eyes, like so, as an eye pillow. And here you have options. You might lengthen your legs long, or you might take butterfly pose. So bringing the soles of the feet together, knees open wide. And here you might choose to slide your props underneath your thighs or your knees for a little bit more support. If you're feeling any compression through the low back, pick up your buttocks, slide it towards your heels, and set it back down to lengthen your low back. And roll your shoulders underneath you. Shoulder blades slide down the back and flatten. If you're using an eye pillow or your strap to cover your eyes, place it there now. And then bring your arms out to a T, opening up through the chest here. And just settle down, settle in. Give your full weight to the earth. Let the props imprint your body. You'll rest here for the next 4 minutes or so. And if at any point in time you need to adjust the position you're in for more comfort, do so slowly. Feel your eyelids just kissed closed. Soften the muscles all around your eyes. Now feel your eyeballs recede back into the skull. And any tension, tug of the eyes, release. Feel that release deep in the center of your brain. And feel your mind recede back and down, slipping beneath the layers of thought, slipping beneath the layers of consciousness, slipping down into the dark, shadowy layers of unconscious, of subconscious. All those aspects of thought just float somewhere above you. Stay grounded here. Resting on the firm earth. Beneath your experience, beneath yourself even. We're right here at the hour. And so if you've got something going on with your evening, you might slowly draw yourself back to consciousness. But if you've got the time, maybe just rest here for longer. Be careful if you're drawing your knees back together, give yourself a few moments to rest. You'll roll onto your side carefully off of your bolster if you choose to get up right now. And press yourself slowly to seated. I bring my hands to my heart, invite you to do the same. And bow your head to your heart. In gratitude to yoga and to the ancient seers of India for this practice. And for all the sweet sounds of the city. Let me know if you have any questions. Bye.